Hello there, it's Paul here and welcome along everyone. Now this project, this is the last part of that large walnut branch I had, and I've just basically rough turned this a bit to get a shape on it. Not really fully decided what to do yet. Now you can see I've put a tenon on there, got it mounted to the jaws, do have this chunk out of here. There was cracks at both ends which I've just cut them back, and there's a little bit on here and it's probably going through there as well, where that bark originally was. What I'm going to do is, I don't know whether to make this like some form of a bud vase with a bulbous bottom, but I think I might keep it sort of similar sort of shape like we've got here, so it's a thicker piece in the middle and then we come narrower on the top and bottom. It's just a case of, I think I'm going to see first of all, by taking this down, this area here, what I've got first of all, as to then what I do with the bottom. Now I've still got one fairly deep bit there, so I'm just going to take this back a little bit further. Yeah, I think I'm going to lose this top bit here. So there's the crack there, and actually that wasn't that much deeper, but it would have meant having this top a lot thinner. Now this wood is still wet, you can see it steaming here, and I think when I measured this before I started I was 20% in one place. Just going to use my small hollowing tool that I've used on all the other pieces. Now I've got the shape I wanted, so it's very similar size at the bottom as it is at the top, and just a curved centre on the middle there. This knot hole does go right the way through. Now the walls I've done literally this thickness all the way down, and it's just got a curved bottom, so it will be a little bit thicker down the bottom here. Now I'm going to do this exactly the same way as I did the very first string pull art. I'm going to use my walnut crystals for colouring again, so I'm going to colour the inside with it off the lathe, so that any build up of the colouring just settles in the bottom. When I'm happy most of that has dried up, then I will then do the outside, and I'm going to do this exactly the same way as last time. I've sanded the inside and outside of this to 240 at the minute, so once the colouring is on and it's dried, I will then sand it back to 320, give it another coat, go up to 400 and repeat, and do the same for 600. But this time I'm not going to give it 3 coats after 600 because I don't want it so dark. Now this one I've only actually sanded this up to 400 grit before I gave it this last coat of colour. hopefully this shows up on the camera. It's a lot lighter than that first one I did. So there are a few bits of black in there, which you'd expect, but the majority of this is more of the walnut brown colour. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a coat of sanding sealer on here. Now a lot of people would normally, because this is really water based, would use a spray sanding sealer. I don't have that. All I've got is what I've got in a bottle here. Hopefully that's not causing too much. Sand and sealer is all dried off properly, inside and out. Now this time I've mixed up some green paint again. It's the Joe Sonja range that I've been using before. And what I'm doing this time is I've actually mixed a lot more up, and I've made this a lot more watered down. Now I'm going to use the wool again, but rather than just put the wool on here first, I'm actually going to brush on a nice thick layer of paint around the base before I then do the string pull. I want this on fairly thick, because then it'll be something for the string to move as extra paint as well. So as you can see, there's a lot more paint on the string. But I'm going to do this with two or three pulls anyway. I want to go a little bit higher on there as well, so I've got lots of paint left here. So I think that this time it's a lot better coverage. I'll put a lot thicker paint on. You can see where the green is already drying. There is browns mixed in there as well, which some of that would have come from the brush, because this is the brush that I used to put the brown stain on in the first place. And even though washing it out, there was still bits of brown in there. This green is still very slowly drying. Obviously where it's thinner, it's dried out a lot quicker. Now I'm going to do a blue top like I did with tried to do with the last one, and hopefully this is going to work better because the green has filled a lot more of the area. But this time I've gone for the blue like last time of the Joe Sonja, which I've already got my piece of wool soaked in there. But I'm fortunate enough that you'll notice that, yeah, that's not a Joe Sonja colour because it's already a colour. I bought these for Christmas when I did all my Christmas decorations, and I'm going to layer this one with the paintbrush around the top like I did with the base of the green first of all. Again, nice and thick. And I did water this one down a bit with the flame as well. So hopefully when the string goes through this, it will at least move the paint. Try to get as near as possible. And the paint on the brush is really thick, so there's only a lot of texture around top. So hopefully as we pull this, and certainly we're going to find this one. I'm going to do one piece, I'm going to pull this the other way. Right, so I shall let that all dry off properly, and hopefully that will turn out quite nice. But then it could look a right mess. Now I've left this to dry overnight, and oddly enough it's still got some of these sort of colours in it which look like it's not dried. That may well be where it's probably like pulled some of this brown through from the colouring. I don't like this at all. This just seems too much now. Where you've got these wavy bits like this, I like, but the majority of this is just thick green, and it looks like a mess. And the top, well, again, there's all these light colours in here. I just don't like it. And where I've used this paint for the double base, I was hoping it was going to be blue, and I don't know whether it shows on the camera, but that has come out like a bluey green. It just looks horrible. So this is the thing about experimentation. It's also the thing about when you deal with something like paints. It's very unpredictable, certainly for somebody like me. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this all back so that I've got back to the original surface again. Now, I sanded this right the way back and got rid of all the paint. I've gone through the grits again, given it a light coating of the colouring. After I did the 320, I then gave it the colouring, but all I've done is sanded it back with 400, so I haven't given it another colouring over the top, so it's got this much lighter colour now. Now I'm going to try this something a little bit a different way this time. I'm not going to plaster all the paint around the bottom first and do the string pulls round. I just found it too big and bulky, and I wanted more of a wispy sort of like grassy scene on the bottom. So I've gone back to the string, which has a mind of its own, which is the very first one I used, and I'm going to do this a different way. What I'm going to do is I've got a bit of plywood here. I'm going to layer the paint on here to build up a centre part of the string, and that way use the string to come up like this. And the reason I want to do that is because you've got all these like wispy bits coming out of the string, which will hopefully create other little pieces. I'm going to then take my piece of string and just roll it around in the paint. We've still got some pieces that stick out, so let's just see what this comes up like. So it's still like a form of a string pull, but I don't know whether that's going to be thick enough, so I'm just going to take that down. Now I might have to build this up over layers, because the top is actually quite nice the way I want it, but the bottom might not be thick enough. So I'll just keep repeating this. I just need to probably thicken up some of these areas towards the bottom here. I've got a few other colours here from when I've been working on another project. I haven't got much in here, but I've got a little bit of violet in there, just a little bit of gold in there, a bit of turquoise. Mix a few blobs up on another part of the board. So I'm going to put some gold down. This is violet. And this one's turquoise. And I also have a little bit of red here. Roll this around. hopefully they'll appear a bit like different types of grasses growing, or flowers. Now this is just about dry, and it's nice having these little bits of blue turquoise in there. Just looks like flowers growing in the grass, especially this bit I really like. The reds in there just looks a bit more wild and natural. I think this is a lot better pattern than the first one I did. I don't want to go over the top with blue. I still think, I mean, I have a bare patch here, which I want to try and make as sort of like the prominent part of the image. So I'm going to try again to do one of the flowers, and this time I've just mixed up a bit more of the violet to try and do on this. Now hopefully I can do this as good as my daughter did her flowers. That I would be really pleased with. So I'm just going to lay this down. Make sure that's all down, and that I am really happy with. So that's now going to be the main element of this. So I'll let that fully dry off now, and then I will give it some coats of spray lacquer and then part it off. Now, first thing I've got to say is, if you make something and you're not happy with it, if you can do something about it, then do it. The original pattern of all that green and blue to me just looked horrible. I had ideas in my head of the sort of things I wanted to do, but it just didn't work out. So I decided, right, sand the whole lot back and redo the base coat, and then work on something that you want to do. And I'm so pleased that I did, because using that very coarse string to create really what was the grass patterns, what I wanted, I think has worked out absolutely ideal. And then having that big blank space to create the flower, to me, just seemed obvious. Then what I did as well was, all the leftover paints I had, I just used the little stirring sticks just to put little blobs all around the place, so it now looks like it's grass with lots of little wildflowers growing inside it, and you've got this main flower at the beginning. So before I parted it off, I just gave this 2 or 3 coats of spray lacquer, let it set properly, and then just parted it off. I've just sanded off the bottom, the large nub I had there, and signed it and dated it as I normally do. I've finally got a successful flower. This one worked out absolutely brilliantly, and I do like this lighter walnut colour that I've got in there, compared to where I had it a lot darker. I just think it looks more natural, seeing the wood and really all the picture I wanted on there. So producing this sort of work to me is a lot of hit and miss, and I will have sort of like a vision of the sort of things I want to do and try and work to it as best I can. Now I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been, like I say, totally different, pushing me to my limits. When you've made mistakes, go back, correct them, and carry on until you get something you're pleased with. So please do leave comments below. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Maybe you've done something like this. Maybe you've thought of something extra I could add to this. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next project video.